All right, now we're live. All right, good afternoon, beautiful people. This beautiful Sunday afternoon. What is it, July 2nd?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so once again, good afternoon, beautiful people. This is the Day Night Podcast. Your host, co-host, Matthew Tompkins, chilling in this hot Atlanta weather. I guess Mark sent the heat down here. You see, that's why I got on cut off sleeves because it's like 95 degrees. I was sweating bullets out there working on the car. So it's kind of crazy. But anyway, no further ado. Again, we appreciate y'all tuning in. We thank those that actually watched the last podcast, those new subscribers. And as always, uh, hit the subscribe button, like, comment if you can. And this topic falls in today, my saying, as far as your thoughts becomes your belief, and belief becomes manifestation. All right, Mark?
Yeah, I just want to first say it's cool down there where you at. You just a cool 90 degrees. We are hot, steamy 100 and couple degrees up here. So trust me, I feel your heat, your pain down there with all that heat and whatnot. But it is summertime, so as any time is best time. So anyway, happy Sunday, fun day to everybody. Appreciate you guys again tuning in and checking us out. Like Matt said, like, subscribe, and drop a comment, as we always say every week. I love to hear feedback. You know, conversation rules the nation. So we love to hear the feedback with you guys. But I'm gonna just say what I say, and we're gonna get started. STS. Now, I always say that, like I said, that's primarily more or less I say that to my clients in personal training for those that are trying to reach their fitness goals, right? But to me, I could use that in anything in what we do in life. You got to stay focused. You got to trust your process, and you got to be consistent at it. So I use that across the board. Again, primarily for training, but that can go any aspect of what you're trying to accomplish in life. So on that note, I'm looking forward to today's topic. So I'm gonna let Matt go ahead and do your spill, and I'll be ready to say what I gotta say about this. All right, so whenever you're ready.
Like I said, we got a good one today. Now, I'm going to take my time with this one, just so not saying that anybody don't have intelligence and nothing like that, but I'm a deep thinker. I really, really go in the weeds when thinking about things. So that's basically where this topic comes from. So there's this book, and I think I mentioned it before when we was on one of the episodes. So I got this book called Project 369. It's basically manifestation. Really good book. I highly advise y'all if you're into that thing to check it out. I got it off Amazon. But anyway, so one day I was driving and I was just thinking, and I was reading the book. So I actually had this thought before I read this in the book. So today's topic is, does our beliefs separate us? All right, hold up. Does our beliefs separate us? So that's basically the topic. Does our beliefs separate us? Now, this can be a really, really, really broad statement because beliefs is something that everybody has. And this is my opinion. Not saying that it's right, but it talks about this in the book too. So I watch a lot of podcasts. So I was looking at a couple last week, and I just started to notice a lot of podcasts, more so us, the podcasts are somewhat similar. It seems like it's always men versus women. That's like the number one topic. And I just was asking myself, why are we so separate? Like, why we can't talk or have a podcast about something that brings us together, stuff that we enjoy doing together? I mean, I get it, drama leads to, leads the world in a sense, and it draws in or brings in viewers. I get that, but at the same time, I think it does a disservice because, then for somebody that's out there that's young and maybe watching it, or just somebody that's, still trying to ascend on their journey, and they take social media outside influence and they take it and it kind of influences how they conduct themselves throughout their life. So basically what I'm saying is, with all this negativity and separation, I think it does more damage than it does good. Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple of things, and Mark, I asked you to answer it, and those that's watching, leave a comment, and I want you guys to truly think about this. Okay, so our beliefs is which one values their world are the same beliefs that create their world. And this is where I want to go with this. Like I said, my belief is the reason why there's separation in everything that we do. Because like I said, everybody has their belief. In religion, everybody has a belief. Whether it's gender, men versus women, everybody have a belief. In money, everybody has a belief. The way we raise our children, everybody has a belief. And I get it that everybody's going to have a certain ideology that they believe is the best way to go through life. Some may believe that their beliefs trumps other people, and I think that's where the separation comes in. You have Christians that says that they're better, or not better, but their living is better than somebody that's non-Christian. You have people that's in the community that I belong to, whether it's metaphysics, spirituality, quantum physics. They say, well, our way is the right way, and the Christians are wrong. And all it does is bring separation in the world we're supposed to live in and function as one. And to me, that's why things seem to be chaotic. Is because everybody has their own belief. And I'm trying to say this to make sense, because I know somebody like, well, of course you're going to have your own belief. Okay, so I'm going to break it down to this right here to see if this makes any sense for anybody. So when we were born, from ages 1 to 7, you had no clue that, you knew the world existed. You knew, there was things out there as far as people and entertainment, whatever the case may be. But your parents' beliefs is what they taught you or taught us as far as how to function, what to believe in, and how we should conduct ourselves. So that was their belief. It was basically instilling in us, programming us. And then not only their beliefs, they even have society's beliefs as far as how we're supposed to operate as people, how you're supposed to operate as a man, how you're supposed to operate as a Black person, because even within the Black community, there are certain beliefs that identify us as being Black. If you don't do a certain thing, then you're not considered Black. That's somebody's belief. Somewhere, somehow, somebody came up with this belief and they projected it or programmed it on everybody else so they can say, okay, this is how we're supposed to function. Okay, so this is my thinking. Let's say you was in the desert, right? You was born. There was nobody else around. And let's say you had your parents, and they raised you and stuff like that from a newborn up to about age 9 or 10. You had no outside influence, no social media, no interaction with people outside, only the people that was within your circle. Once you turn 15 or 16 or 17, then you venture out into society. Now, I actually asked a couple of people this question. Do you know who you are? So that person that grew up with no outside influence, they're not programmed by society. So when they go into society, they're basically going to be like, what the hell is going on? They're going to feel lost. They're going to feel alone because they're basically not doing what everybody else is doing. I truly believe that that's when you develop your own sense of character as far as who you are, more so than people being programmed who they're supposed to be, if that makes sense. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does a little bit, but yeah, no. No, it does though. It makes sense. Yeah. I get where you're going. I understand what you're saying. I guess, this is going to be one for me. I got to be careful how I say it and tread lightly because, like you said, everybody's going to have a belief. I think you put it best when you said the analogy as far as if you was, grew up, you didn't have any outside influence. I use another word as shelter. So you pretty
Yeah.
much being sheltered from the outside. So you're only learning what your parents teach you, or another word, program, whatever word you choose to use. It will shell shock them when they get older and they do venture out and be on their own. They're going to be confused, like you said. They're going to feel like they was, not, I want to say lied to, but misled, because they're going to be like, this ain't nothing what you taught me and told me. This is not what I expected. So I think that would kind of create a belief for a person when you have nothing else to kind of challenge what you being taught. It's like, okay, all I know is what I know. So that is programming, and it's creating a belief for you to believe only in what you was taught. So to me, that would be a kind of, I'm kind of echoing everything you just said in a sense, if you're listening to what I'm saying. It is kind of making them one-dimensional or tunnel vision, if you say, they're not going to know anything else. So to me, I feel like if this keep it on the subject, it needs to be more diverse on how what you teach your kids and what you show them, what you tell them. Because when they are out there in the real world, it's going to be so much that's going to be so opposite of what you was taught when you was a kid at home. So I think your belief is dictated by how you grew up. If that follows suit to what you was talking about. I think as you get older, then your belief may change. Because again, you might join a church group, you might join some type of organization where their belief is going to be different. So it's going to be compromising what you was taught. So you might even wind up transitioning to another belief. So belief, yeah, that's a really thin line for me on that, because I think at the end of the day, it is what you truly want to believe. I think that's important too. You can get a lot of information, but whatever you choose to believe and go on that is what's going to be the difference. If that makes sense. Like, you could tell me something, then somebody else could tell me something, and then I have to choose which one I choose that I want to believe in and follow, and go with that. So yeah, so I think
Okay,
that's, yeah.
but that's where people should be. Now, what you're
Mhm.
saying is exactly how we should be, as far
Right.
as not allowing our beliefs to dictate as far as
Mhm.
how we move. And that's my whole point, is that people believe so much in what they believe in to be right, they block out everybody else. So that's where separatism comes in, because it's like,
Mhm.
okay, these are beliefs I have. This is what I was taught. This is what I learned. This is the right way. And then they don't allow in the other ideas, ideologies, whatever the case is. They just totally shut it off. It's like, nope, I don't care what you're saying. What I believe is right. I don't know if you ever talk to somebody, and I notice this sometimes. The first thing someone says, not first, but somewhere in what they're talking about, they always say, "Well, I believe." So just because you believe that doesn't mean that's truth. One of my
Mhm.
favorite sayings is, there's your truth, there's my truth, and then that's the absolute truth. So we should function off the absolute truth, because that allows people to understand the other person, and not judge them, because you're not solely leaning on, okay, this is, I know what I believe in to be 100% true. So you know what? I don't care what anybody else says. I'm going to stick to what I believe in, and that's why I believe. That's why I think that's where separatism comes in. It's because everybody had a belief. And going back to the whole men versus women, so women feel as though men should act a certain way because that's their belief, and then men
Mhm.
think women should act a certain way because that's their belief. And then you get people, coming at each other because they don't want to hear the other person's, ideology or their
Mhm.
thinking process of why they feel the way they do. It's always,
Mhm.
well, no, this is what I believe to be true, and I'm going to stand firm on it. And this is where it gets tricky to me, because belief is definitely needed, because
Mhm.
like just us operating on a daily basis, trying to succeed and trying to accomplish something, you like have to believe in yourself in order to do it. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're not going to be able to accomplish it. So it's kind of tricky when you talk about belief, because belief is needed in certain instances, but when it comes to dealing with other people, when it comes to dealing with like labels and titles and stuff like that and ideologies, I really think that the belief system or what you have should have some ambiguity to it, meaning that you should have some play in it. It's like, okay, this is what I was raised on, this is what I was taught, but I'm going to sit back and listen to what it is you have to say, or whatever mindset you have for this particular thing, and I'll entertain. It doesn't mind what I want to do, and it doesn't line up, but it's totally just, lock that person, but nah, I won't hear it because this is my belief. That's what I'm going to stick to.
So that's funny that you say that. So I was sitting here as you were saying that. And I think part of it, now it's just my opinion, obviously. When you was talking about beliefs, I mean, tell me how you feel about it now. I'm going to use a example from work like I always do. Because I'm telling you, so much happened at that place. I should make a little mini series about it. Everybody watch it because it's just so damn entertaining. No, but to go off of what you said about belief, right? So I think sometimes we choose to believe certain things more than others, or fall on it and follow it, because to me, it might be whatever the person is telling. Two people could say the same thing, and one might be more convincing than the other one. So you just be like, I don't believe anything this person is saying, so I'm gonna follow this one because it just sounds more convincing. Now at work, perfect example. It's the end of the day, and like I say, we have what we call they call it a bill, where we have to make a certain amount of product parts throughout the day. So towards the end of the day, we do what we call a stage, where all the stuff that we send it out, we stage it, so that way be set up for the second shift. Now, every day we go through this. It's a lady, what's called the checker, at the end of the line. And then it's another guy that's right next to her. And every day we go through this, where one would say, okay, we need 10 more parts. And then she explained why. And the other guy be like, no, we need 6 more parts. And then I'm like, I don't believe you. I believe her more than you. And he's like, well, how come you believe her instead of me? I said, because when you tell me, it doesn't sound convincing. Like you're talking like you're trying to convince yourself more than me. So I tend not to want to listen, because it seems like whatever you're telling me, you don't feel confident. So I listen to the other person because she sounds more adamant, direct. It feels more conviction. It feel like this is the way it is. This is the way it's supposed to be. So I tend to believe her going forward. So the point I'm making out of all that, maybe our belief system is because we might have different options, like you were saying, instead of just focusing on one, maybe it's like 3 of them laid out, but the other 2 is just like, that's just crap. I don't believe that. For whatever reason, it just doesn't it doesn't appease to you, or it doesn't feel like it's truth. But that one person, whatever they told you, it just feel, again, more convincing, conviction. It just sounds like it make more sense. So you tend to put all your attention and belief in that one. Now, is that right? To a sense, maybe no, but then maybe yes, because again, you have to pick at the end of the day which one you want. Now, you can have all 3 and take one from each one and use that to get through life and say, you know what, I believe all 3 of them, because each one is teaching me or telling me something different. So I'm gonna keep it versatile and have all of them, and then use that the way I go in life. Or hell no, them other 2 is just not, I don't get it. Doesn't make sense, but this is what I'm gonna go with because I believe it and it seemed like it works for me. So I don't know if that's the right way to go, but to me, I think that's part of it with people. Now, I can't speak for everybody, but I think that in my lens, watching other people, listening to, other people, I think their beliefs fall on that one person or whatever it is they being taught is more conviction than the other ones. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a store, you have 3 options and they all break it down, but the other 2 don't make sense. You're like, okay, I'm gonna believe this one because this one seemed like it'll do good for me or whatever. So you go with that one. So I know I'm kind of crazy as an analogy, but that's just, another way of me looking at it. So.
All right, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Where do you feel as though your belief system came from? Like, why do you believe what you believe?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said growing up with your parents. What mom and dad taught us a lot at that time when we was young is what I believe now. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking about dad and how he taught us, how he tell me how to treat a lady and you get out here, and when I got out here, the first girl I met was total opposite of everything dad told me. So I was like, what the hell? This is not what dad taught me. This is not how the response I was expecting, but I believed it because when dad was telling us, I believe that's what he knew. It was truth to it because he was older, he had more knowledge. So I took it and ran with it. But when I got my first girlfriend, it was totally off what dad was teaching us, So it just threw me for a loop. So I was like, damn, I believe that. Not saying he was lying. It's just that his belief that somebody taught him, he did it, and I guess it worked for him. So he believed it and took it and inputted that with us. But for me, I'm speaking of now. You might totally see it opposite. But for me, dad about treating the girl, opening the door, closing the door, all that, and then just watching dad too, the way he was with mom. That's the belief system that I believed in. So again, I got down here to Texas, San Antonio, and was totally different. Now that's just one individual. Of course, all women ain't like that. But what I'm saying is to answer your question, that belief that I had growing up is totally different from what I experienced when I was out on my own for the first time.
So what makes you, if you was to say your belief system now, so what guides your belief system now? Like you said, once you get out there and you started dating or whatever, you found out on your own, what would you say now is the main reason, or what is the driving force of your belief as far as how you operate?
Honestly, that's a good question. I think that goes back to, like I was saying earlier, how now the way I believe stuff, because for one thing, so much misinformation is out there. You gotta really be cognizant of what you choose to believe, because that could be mislead, a mispresentation, a representation. I'm trying to pronounce the word. So my belief now is research, make sure whatever it is I'm being told that is facts behind it, that it is truth, and then compare it to the others that I hear. Because I think that's important, is you can't go off of one and run with it and say, that's what I believe in. And then nothing else, you just, like you said earlier, you just refuse, you just go stick your flag in the ground on that one. No, my point of life right now, I kind of not judge, but I compare and see which one would be, again, feasible for me, that makes it seem like I trust that. I feel like I can relate to that. And then if it's the belief that I feel like it's not going to hurt me any kind of way or mistreat anybody else, then that's the belief I go on. But I'm literally nowadays, a lot of stuff that I believed growing up, I'm seeing now that, wow, that was misguidance. It was representation. So now I know that I can't just go off of the first thing. I got to research, dig, as my old boss used to tell me, you got to research, get data, see what the data is, and then compare it, and then make your call from that. But don't just go off one thing. So to answer your question, my belief now is researching, finding more about it, whichever one that I feel like seems to me that, again, it makes sense. I can understand it. I can relate to it. It's not jeopardizing me or anybody else. No, then I go with that and choose that, or just go with what I truly believe instead of going off what somebody else kind of tells me what this should be your belief, or you should follow this. So if that makes any sense, kind of, take other people's stuff at the same time, what my heart and soul feel is true, and say, this is what I believe because I feel that is right. So, I mean, end of the day, I take a little bit of everything and then analyze it and see from that. Yeah. If that answers your question, but.
Yeah,
not really.
Did.
It's like, hell no, man. What are you talking about?
All right, so based off the topic, does our belief separate us? If you believe, you may not believe there was any separation. If you do think there is, what do you think the main cause of is? And do you believe? Do you think belief is the main foundation for separation? And that's anything. That's throughout, it's just anything in general.
No, I mean, you said it when you said that first thing people say. Actually, today when we was talking, the first thing came out of my mouth, well, I believe. So, I mean, that's the end of the day. that does separate us because I think you have to. How will we all identify with each other if we all agreed on the same thing? Won't be no diversity. So I think you have to again have some kind of belief. Does it have to be right or wrong compared to the other person? No, but that's what you truly believe in. Then I can't knock that because there's some people that don't believe. Like it's a guy at work that he just believes in being nice to everybody. I'm like, dude, I can't be nice to everybody because some people take advantage of that and run with it. Now, am I trying to tell him to change who he is? No, I just be like, that's cool what you do, but I ain't you. I'm not gonna sit here and try to be friends with everybody because not everybody deserves your friendship or your kindness because some people use that as a weakness and run with it. So he was like, man, why are you trying to change us? I'm not changing you. I'm just saying you better than me on that aspect. So that's a good question because my belief is different, not saying that his is wrong, but we just had different things that happen in life. He probably never been burned by nobody or mistreated or lied to. So he feels that it's good to be good to everybody because he never been done wrong. But when that day comes, then we should have that conversation again. But for now, he's a good guy, but he just friends everybody. I'm the opposite. I'm like real selective, and it's not that I'm better than anybody. Just certain people is not my cup of tea. Just by seeing how they interact, I don't mess with it. Like it's one lady, she's two-faced. Like she'll talk to you, and then as soon as you walk away, she's throwing you under the bus. And he still talks to her. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it, but I can't talk to nobody that's two-faced. I don't believe in that. He's like, well, man, she's cool, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, do you, but I'm not going to follow suit. So some beliefs, I don't think is wrong, but I think that does separate us. It could be good and bad, in my opinion. I don't think it's bad all the time to have beliefs and then kind of separate you from someone else. Because if you believe what the other person believes, then to me, you follow it. Because it looks good to that person. Just like working out. I know I'm all over the place with this, but just like when I'm in training, and this guy told me the other day, well, I watch these videos, man, and this video said do this, and that. I'm like, first of all, I said, that's cool, but you can't go off a video because he's telling you how to do his workout. He said, well, I believe it works because he looks good. I'm like, again, that's true, but that workout works for him. I said, now you can try it and see if it works. And if it don't, then you need to find something else. But he said, well, I believe it does because the dude got a lot of clients and they all look good. I said, that's good, but everybody's body is different. So I said, you should research and find out before you just throw and cash in all your chips on one guy and think that he's the one that's going to get the body the way you want. So the point I'm making out of all that is sometimes that's where you do have to have a belief because he believes in one person. And instead of separating and saying, you know what, maybe he's not the one. Let me see if this other person, see what he got. So I think that's where separation of a belief isn't bad because you don't want to just be cashing all your chips on one and go with that. So I think separation is somewhat okay, depending on, just so you don't direct yourself on one and everything else doesn't matter. So again, it falls back on what you said about taking one and another and then being open-minded. So I think in a nutshell, that's kind of where you should be at to answer your question if that directly answers it. But
yeah, it did again in your Mark kind of way.
yeah, I know I'd be long with drawing out, dude, but that's the only way I know how. So
okay, so I'm gonna kind of shift it towards because that was the other part of this topic as far as with gender, men versus women, or right. Black women versus black men. Because like I said, a lot of the podcasts that I've seen, it's always men going against the woman and woman going against the man. So today someone posted something on Instagram, it's like a small clip. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's this one brother, he got a real long beard and he got glasses. I mean, the dude is pretty knowledgeable. He's conscious. He's just real aggressive when he speaks. But what he was saying was, he said, if a man questions a woman or asks a woman about her body count, then he's insecure and he's not a man because real men don't worry about a woman's body count because they're worrying about, getting the bag or, pushing whatever it is they're trying to do and be successful. So the person that posted it, I said I don't agree with what he's saying, and it bothers me when people generalize, whether it's man, woman, or whatever the case is, because everybody's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And she made a statement, and I was referred to it or responded with, that's part of the whole belief thing, like because he solely believes that he's, I'm going to say, project trying to influence other people to believe what he's saying is true. And those people, yeah, they jumping up and dapping him up and stuff. And the
Mm-hmm.
men mainly so was saying that. And you know how they do the
Right.
split screen? It was this one brother's like, yep, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's not, I said, that's not the case, because for me, I base it off of energy. Anytime you lay down with somebody, it's exchange of energy. So if you have a woman that's been with multiple men, she have a whole bunch of energy exchange, and if she don't get rid of that energy, she's carrying all that energy with her. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm trying to get in a relationship with her, she could have been with somebody that had negative energy, could have had suicidal energy, could have had murders, and whatever type of energy that person is carrying, you take that with you. I said, so in that sense, I will be not concerned, but I am going to question her body count because I want to know who I'm getting involved with. But he just totally blocked that out and went
Mm-hmm.
with a man is not truly a man because he's worried about her body count. And that's my whole point as far as where beliefs cause separation, because his belief, he was trying to get across that all men think that way and they don't. And then the woman was like kind of confused, and it was like, so how is that not fair that men can have a body count but women can't?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. That's where beliefs causes separatism or separation.
Yeah.
Is because somebody is so focused on their belief being right,
Right.
and that's not the absolute truth. So he's generalizing his belief onto other people. And that's what I'm saying. You can have somebody else that don't know how to think for themselves. And that's very what's the word I'm looking for? When somebody's
Common.
influenced, somebody's easily influenced. I want to
Right.
say gullible,
Naive.
but no, they very impressionable. So
Uh-huh.
somebody that's very impressionable, they're going to take on what everybody's saying to be true. Like the dude you was just talking about, that he's friendly with everybody. So if you have somebody that has that type of character and personality, they can take that on as being true, and on actuality is not. So that's
Right.
why I feel as though it becomes an issue. And then just real quick, there was a sister, and she was saying that I don't care if the man does everything he's supposed to do, that's just not enough for me. And I always go to the comments, and this is where it causes a problem. I didn't go through all 8,000 comments, but a good majority of them was all in support of what
Yeah.
this person was saying. And the thing I'm saying is like, that's crazy what she's saying. Like, that has no validity to it because she's based it off her experiences, but so many people was in agreement with her. So
Yeah.
again, that's causing separation because it's based off of her beliefs. So that's
Right.
why I feel as though we have to be careful when we always say what I believe, and what I believe to be true is born. And that's a dangerous thing, especially people that's on social media, because you got people that have thousands of followers and millions of followers, and they're putting this stuff out. Then that's going to cause somebody else that's watching it that don't agree with it. Say, you know what? No, I don't like that. And then they separate themselves.
Right.
So I get what you were saying earlier, that it's needed to have some type of form of individuality, but it shouldn't be to the point to whereas you have so many people against each other that it's becoming more chaotic than it is just,
Right.
respecting a person for who they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's good when you break it down like that. Like, that was a good one, how you were saying about that podcast, about the body count, because that is true.
Yeah.
I just think he probably don't have the knowledge or the understanding, like you were saying about the transfer of energies. Maybe he just brought on one layer what most typical people that thinks fickle is, oh, he mean how many? That's just too many. That makes that person a hoe or
Right.
promiscuous, instead of looking at it more in the spiritual aspects. So I think maybe this dude, like you said, he just don't have that much knowledge, and the people that's listening to them clearly is on the same level because nobody didn't combat that to say what you just said. So that's how I see that. Where as far as the belief, yeah, that's where you're going to have a lot of people separate because you're going to have what I call pick and choose on what you feel makes sense. Now, what you said, a lot of people probably can't grasp that. So they going to agree with the old boy what he said because what you're talking about is so more deeper and more logical. A lot of people are going to want to go that far. So they're going to stick to what they know, the easy, common one that's so easy to go, yep, he's right. I agree with what he's saying. And that, like you said, causes separation where instead of being a little bit more open-minded, like, well, wait a minute. Well, let's look at it another way. Because I'm going to tell you, me and my old lady, what we talked about the other day. And I said my belief, and we was back and forth about what we believed in. And I told you kind of last week about it when I believe, see, it's easy to say that. I believe. It's funny how we say stuff and don't even think about it till you bring it to your attention. But I was telling her I'm real big on, now when I say this, I don't want nobody out there thinking that I mean that I'm some kind of God or something in a sense where you have to bow down and respond. I'm looking at it clearly on what we had that podcast a couple of months ago about communication. To me, if I'm texting you and you responded, and we go back and forth for maybe 3 different conversations and you just literally just cut off all conversation and don't respond. To me, it's like, what the hell happened? Why couldn't you respond? Just say, hey, I'm busy. I'll talk to you later. So the point I'm making out of this is I told her, well, I believe when you text somebody and you're in the middle of a conversation, you should finish it and let them know what's going on. And her comeback was, well, I believe that I don't have to respond right away. I respond whenever time is convenient. I don't have to tell you right away. So that's my belief. So we're back and forth what we believe is right and wrong. So that's where I think that's what separation is, because a lot of people agree with her, and then some will agree with me and say, hey, yeah, you need to respond right away. So that's where belief is, instead of sitting down and listen to the other point of view and be like, okay, I see your point. It's something maybe we can work on, both of us, and compromise. But instead is, well, this is what I believe in. I'm sticking to it. I don't care what nobody says. That's how I am. So that's separation, because you separate yourself, correct me if I'm wrong, from what my belief is, instead of coming together and saying, let's work it out and see how we can compromise on our beliefs and still do what we believe in without hindering each other or making each other mad at each other. So yeah, that's crazy. You had me thinking, talking about this subject, because I never thought about how many times I say that in a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Now this is another spin too. I always open up and I close with, your thoughts becomes your belief, and your belief becomes your manifestation. So this is another question I'm gonna pose after I make this,
right?
After I say this. So like, that's really deep. And that's one of the questions I have also, is like, where does a belief come from? It's not necessarily so much like, even if, mom and dad taught us and stuff like that, but where did they get it from? You can go all the way back to the beginning of time. Where does, before it gets to a belief, it has to be thought of first. So we move, and that's the other thing. So which one? Our view, how we view the world, are the same beliefs that create our world. That's why I say a belief creates your reality, because whatever you believe, you're going to act on that. You create your reality based off of what you believe. Just like you were saying with her, well, I believe you should do this when I do that. And she was like, well, this is what I believe. So because y'all have two different thought processes, then that's moving your beliefs. And then that's where that, I'm saying conflict, but that's where the, miscommunication came from, is because y'all are both operating based off of your thoughts first, which turns into a belief. And now you're creating reality. Like my favorite saying is, so my famous saying is always, I have my own universe. In my universe, this is how I think. Because actually, if you seriously think about it, that's why I love like Marvel with the multiverse. It's because everybody, if you think about it, really truly does live in their own universe. because
Mhm.
a universe is made up of what? Or a society is made up of what?
Mhm.
Beliefs. You got to
Beliefs,
have
yeah.
some type of belief system in order to have that society function. Belief system in capitalism. Everybody believe in capitalism.
Mhm.
Democracy. That's a belief system. So
Mhm.
with everybody having their own individual universe that they live in, that's what's, in my opinion, is causing, a lot of separation and conflict, is because everybody's living in their own universe, opposed to knowing that, yeah, we individually have our own universe, but we're just part of the big universe. So that doesn't
Mhm.
mean we still can't live together and listen to what the other person is saying, and not just saying, well, what I believe, like I said earlier, is how I'm going to function. I can care less how you feel as though it should be done. That's perfect. But as far as what the different parties, you got
Right.
Democrats and Republicans. That blows my mind, because how do you live in the same country and you got totally different views? Because it's
Mhm.
based off of somebody's belief system of what they
Right.
feel as though is right. And then they're fighting, saying, well, no, this is how we believe. This is what's
Mhm.
right. And then you get conflict, and we're separate because you get people going against Democrats, the red against the blue. So this is the question I have. And this is what had me thinking. I think that the key, or part of the key of life, is trying to navigate around this belief, because I think that belief, if you want to put a devil or enemy on anything, I think that is it. Is because that's like the root cause of so much division and separation, is belief.
Mhm.
So this is what I asked you. Do you think not only can we function as a society, but do you think you can function individually as a person without using your belief system as far as how you navigate life on your everyday basis?
I would say no. And the reason why I would say no, because if you don't have something you believe in, to me, you become robotic. You move like a robot, but nothing to. I think that's what makes us who we are, is to have to do and go about what we believe in. Because if I don't believe in anything, like if I just cross the board, say, oh, I can't go against this because I don't believe it, I just take it for face value, then to me, that's like a robotic movement, because you're doing whatever the command is, but you're not going against it to question it to see if that's something you should be doing. So again, everything you said, I agree 100, but I think that you got to have some belief, but then you make that question, what is belief? Where did it come from? Like you said, it's a thought, and manifests it and becomes your reality. So to answer that question, no, I think you have to have some kind of belief. Because if not, if I didn't believe anything, you could tell me everything and I'm gonna go for it, because I'm taking it for what you say, instead of saying, well, I don't know if that sounds right. I don't know if I should believe that. Because this other guy, he said this, so I might believe him opposed to you. So I think you have to have that where you do separate and believe and choose what you choose to believe. Because if not, to me, again, I feel like you become robotic, because you're not going against anything. You're just whatever it is, command. Not I shouldn't say command. Whatever it is you hear, that's you appease to, and you just react to it with no questions and no, not. So to me, I think you need to have a little bit of belief in something to stand on. Hear that word go, to separate you from everybody else. Because to me, if you don't, then everybody's the same. Is that a bad thing? No, depending on how we all are as being the same. Because that can be a negative all the same, where we all do the same thing, but in a negative light. Now, if it's good energy and we all positive and loving each other and no animosity, then hell yeah, that's be the best way to go about it. But do I see that in my time? Maybe not. Maybe going forward after years later, my grandkids, maybe their era, they might. But for now, I think we know, to answer your question.
Okay, I got something for you.
Yeah.
All right, so we was born Baptist, Christian, what have you.
Mhm.
So when I went to the military, I got baptized apostolic.
Mhm.
So this is where your thoughts create your reality and your belief system.
Mhm.
So when I was in Christianity, things that I experienced because I had belief in it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but a lot of things that happened while I was in religion or in Christianity, I believed it to be true because I believed in it. I was functioning based off that belief system. Apostolic believes in speaking in tongues as the Spirit gives you utterance. So when I was in church and there was times when I would pray and stuff, I was speaking something. They call it tongues. That's a different language unknown to man. I was doing it. You could hear it. You could verbally hear me speaking in a different tongue. So does that prove that speaking in tongues, as the apostolic say, is evidence of having the Holy Ghost? Because that's what they say. When you speak in tongues, that's evidence that you have the Holy Ghost within you. Because the speaking tongues as the Spirit gives you utterance. So because I was doing that, I believed that I was actually walking around with the Holy Ghost inside of me. Okay. And there was other different experiences I had when I was, in Christianity, where I could argue down. You know how I was, when I was in Christianity, just kind of how Chris is. It's because I believed in my mind that what I was being taught and what I was reading was to be true. I argued people down and said it was wrong. If you don't follow this and that, you're not going to heaven, et cetera, et cetera. So now, fast forward, I'm not in Christianity. I'm more spiritual. I'm more into metaphysics and quantum physics. Same thing. I had experiences based off of what's taught in metaphysics and quantum physics to prove that that is true. So you got two different ideologies that I was in. Both of them gave me experiences where other people can witness and say, okay, yeah, well, not so much this one. It was just me receiving it. But point I'm saying is there was two different instances where I had examples where I can say what I believe, what I was following was to be true. So for me, I always tell people, like I said earlier, there's your truth, there's my truth, and absolute truth. I think we are supposed to live in absolute truth because then it's no separation. Because absolute truth is what it is. You can't deny it. So you can't say, well, I believe. I always use this example. If somebody was standing on the roof and they jumped off and hit the ground and broke their leg, you can still have your belief as far as what happened, as far as, no, he tripped. He didn't trip. Somebody pushed him. No, he didn't push him. He jumped. So you got all these different beliefs as far as what happened while he broke his leg. But at the end of the day, everybody walk over there, you ask each one of them, did he break his leg? Yes, he broke his leg. So you can argue all day about how he felt. That's your belief. But at the end of the day, absolute truth is he broke his leg. So I think that's how we're supposed to operate, is in absolute truth. You can still have your belief with certain things. Like you said, you got to have belief for something. But what I'm saying is absolute truth should be the main driving force as far as how we function, and not solely in our own belief. Because what I see is a lot of people, nope, he didn't fall that way. He was pushed. Opposed to, hell, at the end of the day, who cares? He fell.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? He got a broke leg. Right. So, and what I want to end with is, and that's what I was like battling myself with the other day, is, like I said, in two different ideologies, I have examples to prove that what I was following was true. Now, this is the kicker. Is that really what happened? Or is it because I believed in it so much, I created what I saw?
Right.
So it goes back to your belief. I mean, your thoughts becomes your belief, becomes your manifestation. Now, I was hoping your friend would be on there, because I don't know if she knows this or not, but in psychology, you create, the mind is so powerful, you can create images of something that don't really exist. You can create something that happened and it wasn't supposed to happen, but it only happened because you created it. Right. So that goes back to the whole concept of the Matrix, that none of this is real, it's all an illusion. So the only reason why stuff happened is because you're processing in your head because of what? Beliefs.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, because I saw, you know how I be posting a lot of those little things on Instagram, and one of the little segments said that where it's about you create your own reality.
Yeah.
And he was saying how it's funny how he said manifest. He said we manifest so much negativity because that's what we focus on. We create
Yes.
that, and that's what
Yeah.
we think it is instead of changing it and put it to positive. So I think all that
Exactly.
ties in together. So yeah, belief is definitely, like you said, what we thought, what we think it is, what we bring up. I think experience has a good part, like you just mentioned, how you had experience of one and the other. And then I guess at the end of the day, you're going to choose which one is the one that's more formable to you to say, hey, I believe this one more than the other. But that's true. I will end that on that, where you said it should be the absolute truth. That should be what we believe in. At the end of the day, is it going to happen again? Who knows? But anything's possible. We all think in a positive way. But I think this is a great subject, topic. I mean, it made me really reflect and realize that. I say that a lot. I'm gonna own that and say I'm real bad on saying what I believe. And when I get in arguments, I'm real bad at saying that. So this is a good topic. I really like it or liked it. So that was good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, beautiful people, we hope you enjoyed this one. It'll be posted on Wednesday, and we see you next week. As I always say, a thought becomes your belief, and your belief becomes your manifestation. All right.
Yes, sir. And y'all be
Peace.
safe and have a happy 4th of July weekend. All right.